fun-sized
Spooks. A pirate ghost on Liberty Island. The Statue of Liberty shines her torch over New York Harbor. She is a beacon of freedom and the host to some 3.5 million tourists a year. But the island she strides above has a darker past. Before Liberty was installed on her island in 1886, this dollop of land was known as Bedloe's Island and was a hideout for pirates. The most famous buccaneer of the bunch was Captain William Kidd, a Scottish-born seaman who made his fortune privateering in the Caribbean. In 1690, he sailed to New York City, then still a British colony, where he married a wealthy widow and became a founding member of Trinity Church. Kidd was then contracted as a privateer by a group of British noblemen. Privateering was basically piracy, but it was a legal enterprise as long as you attacked ships flying under the flag of a nation that was at war with the country that sponsored you. As Kidd's ships sailed away from London to begin their adventure, they passed an English naval ship, but rather than salute as custom demanded, the crew dropped trow and showed the naval officers their arses. They were immediately halted, and many of Kidd's crew were removed and impressed into naval service. Kidd had no choice but to set sail with an undercrewed ship, and was therefore too cautious to attack most of the enemy ships that they came across. After years of sailing around the world with limited bounty, Kidd's crew was restless and angry. They openly threatened mutiny, and Kidd attacked a mutineer with an iron bucket, beating the man to death. The crew finally spotted a ship sailing under the French flag and attacked, taking their greatest prize. But Captain Kidd soon discovered that the ship was actually British, sailing under a contract of French protection. They had committed piracy. Kidd sailed his ship back to New York in the hopes of protection from his patrons, but they sold him out to protect themselves and sent him back to London in chains. There he was hung twice. The first time the rope snapped and the crowd protested it was God's will that he lived, but the hangman strung him up again, this time successfully. His body was hung over the Thames River in a gibbet to rot away for 3 years as a warning against piracy. Captain Kidd was immortalized in a popular 1701 song called The Famous Pirate's Lament, which claimed he had buried 200 bars of gold in a secret location. He appears in many works of fiction, including Edgar Allan Poe's The Gold Bug and Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. As his legend grew, it was no wonder that people were curious about where he might have hidden his treasure. In 1892, the New York Times published a story about 2 soldiers stationed at Fort Wood, which would later become the base of the Statue of Liberty. These soldiers, Gibb and Carpenter, were treasure hunters looking for Kidd's lost bullion on the tiny island. One night, they uncovered a wooden chest, but instead of gold, they unleashed a demonic specter with a bearded, wizened face of a sea captain. Carpenter ran for his life, but Gibbs, frozen in terror, was whisked away by the demon and thrown into the sea. Both men lived to tell the tale, but the wooden chest and the demon spirit vanished. So if you have plans to visit the majestic Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor, stick to the tourist paths and leave your shovel at home unless you fancy meeting the famous Captain Kidd. If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting me on Patreon and help me make more horrifying videos. Patrons get cool perks like exclusive content, mentions in videos, and can even request video topics. A link to my Patreon is in the description. Thank you for watching, and unpleasant dreams, darlings.